Section 18 of Weird Tales Double Feature, The Skull and the Body Master, by Harold Ward. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Ben Tucker. The Body Master, Chapter 14. The remainder of my tale is from memory, for the preceding lines are the final entry in my diary. As I have stated elsewhere, I can recall certain things which occasionally happened during my trance-like periods. Remember your dreams, vague, indistinct, hazy, leaping here and there. So are my recollections of that last hour with the Body Master. Probably many things happened of which I have no memory. In my desire to stick to facts, I give only that which I remember, leaving the blank places to the reader's imagination. It must have been immediately after making the final entry in my diary that Lessman summoned me, for the book was in my pocket when I eventually found myself. Of this, however, I have no memory. My first recollection is of floating through space on one of those strange exploring expeditions in the great beyond on which the Body Master so often sent me, several of which are described in my diary. Whether I was just returning or was on my way, I do not know. I only recall that something seemed to be dragging me back, that my whole thought, if thought I could be said to have had, was to get back to my own body as soon as possible. My next recollection is of being in the room with Lessman. My body lay back in an easy chair, cold, stark, and deathlike. I attempted to enter it, but the will of Lessman held me back. I could see, I could hear, yet I had no visibility. I was but a wraith, an ego, as it were, a thought, a spirit, a vapor. And I was controlled wholly by the brain of Lessman, just as the invisible current sent out by a central station causes the tiny submarine miles away to hurl itself here and there. So was his magnetic brain master of my actions. I knew then, or felt rather than knew, for I do not believe that a wraith is able to think. I felt that it was Lessman's will that I should never return to my body's shell. Something, it was his thought, seemed to hurl me back into space, and at the same time another, an even stronger thought, seemed to hold me transfixed. It was the will power that I had concentrated for weeks past, aided by the desire for help from Avis. Her whole being was calling out to me. She was in the beast's arms. For once in his career, his terrible will had no effect upon his victim. Her golden hair was torn from its coils and lay in a shimmering cloud about her shoulders. Her tiny fists beat a tattoo upon his face. His black, lustful eyes gazed, snake-like, into hers, seeking to charm her with their power. It was awful. I knew that she was calling me with every bit of her being, and I was helpless, chained to the floor, unable to regain the cold form which was myself. Suddenly, she tore herself from his grasp. Her clothing was hanging in shreds. Across her cheek was an ugly scratch. Upon one white, rounded arm stood a livid red welt where his cruel fingers had seized her. She was screaming madly. The furniture was overturned. Now he had her cornered. But she fought herself away from him, striking him across the head with the leg of a chair that had been broken in the fray. He pursued her across the room. Once more she was in his grasp. I could hear her breathing, coming gaspingly as she put every ounce of her strength into a final effort to free herself. The door opened. Meta entered. Her black eyes were blazing. Her mouth worked convulsively. She was a raging demon, a woman scorned, cast aside for another. Like a devil from hell, she threw herself into the fray. Lessman swept her aside with a single motion of his muscular arm. For an instant she lay there stunned. She dragged herself to her knees, her lips mouthing curses. She half rose to her feet and staggered toward them as Lessman dragged his shrieking victim toward the door which led to the other room. He turned toward her, his fierce eyes snapping with uncontrolled anger. For the moment I was forgotten. Something snapped. I found myself again within my own body, the lust for battle raging within me. Lessman, surrounded by his enemies, turned like a stag at bay. I felt the currents of his powerful mind surge around me, again like great waves beating against a rock-bound coast. Every bit of energy I possessed was necessary to hold myself together. He caught me within the power of his will. I felt myself slipping. Everything grew black before me. I could see nothing save his eyes, burning, burning into my very soul. Like a man who is fighting an overdose of chloral, I strove to free myself from the web which his mind was weaving about me. It was of no avail. Again, I felt a wave of fire shoot through my veins. I lurched against the table. Seizing the lamp with a final effort, I hurled it straight at the face of the mocking demon before me. I knew no more until I awoke in the hospital. They say that the place Lessman called his sanitarium was burned to the ground the night before they found me wandering, almost a maniac, several miles away. As I stated in the beginning, I am unable to distinguish between the truth and the wanderings of my diseased brain. The reader must draw his own conclusions. What happened? Did I kill Lessman? Did he and Meta and Avis perish in the fire with the other poor unfortunates? Nobody knows. I have just learned that a woman, a golden-haired woman, was found a week ago in a demented condition in a far distant town. The reports say that she mumbles something about the Body Master. Can it be Avis? I leave tonight for the hospital where she is confined. If it be she, perhaps my presence will recall her to herself. End of The Body Master. End of Weird Tales double feature, The Skull and the Body Master by Harold Ward.